Welcome back to another video, guys. We are continuing working on this 4-door RS. If you're new to the channel, this is a car I've been working on for someone else. 4-door RS, complete STI swap, pretty sweet. So last video, we got the test drive all done. It's working out now. I've been working on the wiring. I also off camera replaced this power steering hose because it had a few leaks in it, so it was introducing air into the reservoir, which was being sucked through the system. So hopefully replacing that solved it. I haven't drove it yet, but just looking at it and feeling it back and forth, it does feel a lot better. Now for the wiring, as you can see, we have some jumpers going around. So in order to connect the 2-plug STI harness to the 3-wire GC harness, what's hard is the STI harness, it controls the headlights with the ground. So you can't just ground one of the wires on the GC headlights and then have the other, then just have the power wires going straight to it when you flip the switch, because it is the ground that controls it, not the wires. So both high and low beam both always have constant power. So what you have to do is you add a relay and you actually pretty much use the high-low beam to activate the relay for the high beam lights. So you will wire in, you'll wire in the low beam so that they come on, and they actually stay on when you turn the high beams on as well. But you're pretty much using these 2 wires here to activate the relay, which sends power to the high beam, which looks kind of confusing with all this going on, but it works. I'm gonna wire the headlights in real fast. I have the turn signals done on this side. I haven't done anything on that side yet, but let's knock out the relay here and then we can move over to the passenger side. Okay, we finally have everything wired up. A little test. Turn the lights on. Should have lights. Yes, we got low beam. Should be high beam. Yes, that is high beam. Just for kicks and giggles. Should have turn signal. Yep. Yep. Check the rear. Affirmative. All right, that side is done. Now, on to the next side. Okay, I am finally done wiring the passenger side. Turn signals. If they don't work, I'm gonna be pretty bummed. It's slow, sounds like it works. Oh, there we go. There we go. And there we go. All right. So that means if I push this button here, everything should work. Looks like it. Hazards are a go. All right, perfect. Whoa. Sweet. We are road legal. All the lights are working, so now we can go and drive it. All right, well, we got the car out of the shop. Went and sprayed it down a little bit just to clean it up a hair. She's running pretty good so far, but I'm gonna go put some miles on it. There was an issue where it would kind of start running funky after it warmed up, driven for a bit, but I wonder if that could have been the MAF sensor. Some type of exhaust rattle or something. But no, so far everything's going good. Power steering is still funky. I don't know if it just needs bled more. We'll see if it gets better as I drive it. far things are going pretty good. Definitely some rubbing on the front. It's pretty low. So we're gonna have to go pretty slow, especially down my road. She bumpy. I don't know if we want to put this back on. Well, we're back from our test drive. Everything went pretty good. Still, there's a weird thing at idle. After it warms up, it'll kind of idle kind of funny. So I don't know if that's tune related or what, but we'll get it figured out. Other than that, the power stering's starting to clear up, which is good. And really, we're just waiting to put the coilovers on, which unfortunately it's going to be a few weeks. So we're just gonna have to wait on that. But in the meantime, that'll give me time to work on my car and to work on the C10. This thing's been sitting for a bit. Gonna start working on this again and working on my car, get that thing going. So still lots to do. Well guys, we are back working on the four-door, the customer car, and we finally have all the suspension parts to get this thing on coilovers. So the problem with, or that's not the problem, one of the things you have to think about when doing coilovers for a car like this that has the drivetrain, STI drivetrain, the hubs are going to be different than the GC hubs. So you're going to have to get your normal coilovers just for the GC chassis, which that's what we have here. But unfortunately, since we have the suspension from a 2005 STI, this bottom bracket is wrong. So you need to get the bottom brackets separate and put those on, because I believe this part is wider on the GD, and so we'll just spin these off, swap them over, and it should be a pretty straightforward after that. So I guess let's get this wheel off and then we can start taking off the suspension. So to remove the stock struts, pretty straightforward. 3 bolts on top, 2 bolts at the hub, and then probably a brake line. So right there, and possibly right there, which that one isn't even hooked up. So just undo that. So total of 6 bolts, so we can get this out. Oh yeah. Cob lowering springs. So this actually has some cob lowering springs on it, which would make sense why it was so low already, but that's pretty cool. All right, so I have the front left or driver's side coilover, and I have the lower mount. And as you can see here, the difference here is the STI hub mount is much wider, and that is why you need to modify. So really, I guess you can modify your hub by taking it in. So really, I guess you could modify this and shave it down, which I think people have done, which if you have the tools, why not? But these are about 50 bucks a piece, so that adds about $200 to your coilover, which kind of sucks. You would think they would just put them on there, because it's not like it's anything special. It literally just spins on, so kind of silly that they have you buy them separately, but whatever, it is what it is. So we need to take this off, spin this on, and we can mount the coilover. Added a little anti-seize to this because it sucks when these get frozen after a few years, so it's just good to keep them lubed. That way you can always adjust them. All right, we got this side all done. We don't really know that height until we lower it back down, so I'll just leave them where they're at for now. I'll get the other side done, then we can throw the wheels on and lower it and see what we're at for height. All right, we got the front wheels back on. As you can see, coilovers on. Other side is done. I just did that real fast off camera. And then the back is a little more involved, but nothing that anyone shouldn't be able to handle. So obviously you see we have to remove the rear seats, and the top bolts are right there. 3 of them, just like the front. A little less accessible, and then the rear, it's gonna be pretty similar to the front. So guess let's start by removing this wheel and taking off the lower mounts. Now, just like the front, we're gonna have 2 19mm bolts. Undo that. Doesn't look like brake lines attached. Then you just have the 3 up top, just like the front. Just like that, easy peasy. All right, out with the old, in with the new. So this did have this 5mm spacer on there. I'm assuming because it was probably rubbing. If we look at the strut over here, we'll probably see some, yep. So they just space out the wheel a little bit to keep it from rubbing, but I don't think that we still need it. And that would help bring our wheels in a hair and maybe not rub as much there. So we'll leave that off and see if we can get these to fit without it. All right, we got all 4 coilovers on. Everything went good. I was able to take out the spacer, and we have plenty of room. Probably about 10mm of clearance, so that is good enough. So I guess let's just lower this thing and see where we're at for ride height. I didn't adjust anything. This is just where they came at, but if I remember right with mine, because I have these same coilovers on my car, they are pretty close to where they need to be, but only one way to find out. I would say that is pretty dang where we need to be. Problem is these rears stick out a hair. I think the front will be perfect, just because they'll kind of tuck underneath the fender there. But the rears don't have that as much. That one's a little tight, but thing with coilovers is they're not going to move as much. Yeah, that might be a little tight, but I don't really want to adjust them right now just because they are going to settle a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. If I could bring these in, which I don't like to do with camber, I could use wagon, because right now this has sedan drivetrain on it, so it's going to be a little wider than the GC. But if you get the wagon lateral links, it'll actually bring this in because the wagons aren't as wide as the sedans. That's what I did with my car, and that made a big difference. Which I have my wide body on, but just being able to bring those in a little bit helped me a lot on not rubbing. And I think it would do the same thing over here as well. But we won't really know until we get her out and see what she does. Okay guys, we are back. It's been a couple days, so that's allowed the coilovers to kind of sag into place where they're probably going to sit. You don't want to just adjust them fully right when you put them on the car, because they will drop a little bit as they kind of break in. So it's been a few days, and I think this is where they're probably going to sit. It is fairly low. It looks awesome. Like, obviously, in a perfect world, and if we had the right setup, this would be a very good looking ride height. But how it is, you can see here how it is just rubbing a little bit, so we need to bring it up a little bit, at least in the rear. The front might be okay, but the rear definitely needs to come up. So we're going to be raising that a little bit. Pretty easy. Jack the car up, and we'll use the spanner wrenches that come with the coilovers to adjust it. All right, we got her in the air. Bottom collar is already loosened. So before you make your adjustments, you want to make sure to measure reference points that are going to be the same on both sides, because you want obviously for them to be the same, or you'll have different ride heights. So I measured here from black to black is 6 7/16. So I need to figure out how much I want to extend it until it's at that number. Then I can do the same thing on the other side. All right, so obviously when you are adjusting your ride height, to raise the car, you need to lengthen the total shock. To lower it, you need to shorten. So we need to spin. So obviously, your bottom bracket's going to stay the same because it's bolted to the hub. So you're going to be rotating this entire shock to lengthen the whole thing. And I'm going to raise mine just about a ½ inch, I think will be all. So we will see where we're at, which should come to about 6 3/4 inches. All right, both sides are done. Moment of truth. So she's definitely taller. They're gonna settle down still. So we'll check in a few days. That looks pretty good though. I think that'll do a lot better. I honestly don't know if I want to adjust the fronts. Fronts sit lower, but they also tuck more so they don't rub. Maybe I could bring them up a hair. Just so they're not rubbing as bad, but they're not a problem while we're driving right now, so I don't know if I'll do that now or later, but it looks pretty good. We'll see how much this settles down and see if we'll have to raise it again, but I think that should be pretty good. Well, I feel like we knocked out some stuff on this car in this episode. Got the headlights all figured out, suspension's on, car's running good. So really, I think the customer can take it, get it smogged and all that, bring it back, and future we're gonna be painting and everything. I actually just picked up two new front bumpers, one for this car and one for my 4-door. So that's exciting, but yeah, lots to do on this car still, but the progress has been fun. Thank you guys. Catch you on the next one. Peace.